Hello, this is John for Art Nova. Welcome to my channel. You're currently in the Lightburn tips and tricks section, and if you would like to support my channel, please consider a subscription and possibly liking the video if you find it useful. Every little helps. Thanks very much. Now on with today's video. Sometimes when you try to trace an image you may have taken off the internet or whatever other means of getting it into Lightburn, it doesn't do that good a job. What I've done here is I've dragged an image in from the internet and I'm going to first of all attempt to trace it. Now, don't get me wrong, I probably could make a successful trace of this. I'm not really going to be trying very hard to do it, but I'm going to show an alternative if, in fact, you can't get Lightburn to do a nice clean trace. So let's get on with it. Okay, so what we have here is one of the two images. Into trace, I dim the image so we can see it a little bit better. And you can see that, I mean, I could get a good trace on it, but I'm not even trying here. But someone who doesn't know how to trace correctly may give up at this point and think I'm just going to get a load of rubbish. And indeed, that's what I got. So you can see there's a part missing there, for example. So what I'm going to do now is show you a method. I'm sure I'm not the only one that does it, but I seem to be the only one that's talking about it, of using the line tool to trace the image. Now, you don't have to be too neat when you're doing this. I'm holding down the control key when I do it because the control key gives you a little bit more control over where the nodes are placed. But like I said, it's not terribly important at this stage whether you're exactly on the line that you're trying to trace, and I'll show why shortly. So what I'm doing here is tracing the first part. Yeah, very roughly going around. I do click to put more than one node in some places, even though it's not strictly necessary, just so I've got more nodes to work with when I go to the next stage. Yeah. So going carefully around the fingers, but like I said, not too careful. Right, now, coming to the end. And the next thing I do is I go to node edit. I'll zoom in a little bit. I hold the control key down and I move the nodes around to where I want. If there's a node missing, holding the control key down while between two nodes rather, will add an extra node. A little bit later on, I will deliberately click another node while holding control before I've released the last node, if that makes any sense. And it'll show that it selects two nodes, which is what you don't want because you end up dragging two nodes around. So what you do then is you re-click the nodes that I've highlighted to switch them back off again. But generally speaking, if you go between nodes using the control held down and click with your mouse, you will add a node. You can then drag these nodes to where you want them. And once again, you needn't be terribly accurate at this stage because there is another thing I do afterwards, which I'll show at the end of putting all these nodes in and moving them around. Sorry if I'm being a bit hesitant in my speech today. I'm terribly tired of being up half the night with my dog. But if you can forgive me that, I'll try and get through the video. Yeah, so this this is going to be a little bit drawn out. I haven't made any shortcuts in this video, so this has all been done in real time. I haven't jumped ahead. I said, well, this is it completed, or whatever it is some people do. I'm showing it as I did it, blow for blow, so to speak, which does make the video pan out a little bit longer than you might like if you're a bit impatient like I am. But if you watch it all the way through, it'll give you a solid piece of knowledge as to how it's done, mistakes and all. Like I said, I will pick up a couple of nodes accidentally and drag two nodes at once. You don't want to be doing that. And as I've said, you just re-click on those nodes, holding the control key down, and you will release them. Everything will be fine then. So if you can put up with me doing this node by node, I think you'll find it quite rewarding when you see the end result. I'm not a huge talker, so I may go quiet for parts of this until we get to something more interesting to talk about. But that shouldn't take away from the information being given to you in the video. And you're probably quite sick of hearing my voice by now anyway. This is quite a simple image I'm working on, actually. And you can use this same technique with very much more complicated images like logos, badges, police badges, military badges, whatever. And it is very, very easy to do, and you get a very, very good result. Some people that may be watching this video I've done work for, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Crisp and clear. Perfect results. This is the biggest part, so it's taken the longest. But yeah, it is really as simple as this. I did a little video a while back showing how you can draw around a part of a photograph and then use the crop tool to crop out the background from that photograph. So exactly the same thing I'm doing here, but on a photograph, I think it was of a dog. And I just drew around the dog using the same method here. And when I was satisfied I had the dog completely covered, I selected the image and then the line I just made and used crop. And it completely removes the background. So this is a very, very powerful tool. Line in conjunction with node editing is probably one of the most powerful tools in Lightburn. Okay, I think I'm coming to the end of this. Right. So we'll reselect the line tool and roughly go around this part here. Again, you can see I'm not being terribly careful with it. If I put a node that's way out of place, of course I will correct it. But if it's anywhere in the ballpark area of where I'm going to be using node edit, I'll just leave it where it is and deal with it. I try to do a couple of extra nodes where there's a bend, just because I'm going to be adding nodes anyway in node edit, so I may as well have them already there. As you can see, I'm moving a little bit faster on this little bit. Now that you realize I'm not being terribly careful placing the nodes. Now this isn't a closed shape here. I started at the paler looking wing hand and ended there. I'll show how we deal with this later on. So again, node editing and moving the nodes into place. Some parts of what you're working on may have nice straight runs, and so it's a lot quicker placing the nodes further apart. I do, however, occasionally add extra nodes even on a straight area where there doesn't seem to be any need for that node. I think that's the OCD in me. I just like to see things fairly well distanced apart. But it's by no means necessary to do that. But the line tool and node editing is a big mystery to some people. And yes, I realize that if you have no knowledge of how to use them in the first place, it can seem a little bit daunting. But I hope this video and others I've made showing me using the line tool and node editing helps to demystify it a bit. And once you do learn how to use these things, Lightburn is extremely powerful. No need for external programs like Inkscape and this, that. Totally unnecessary. I never, ever use any such program. Everything you see me do, every bit of work I've done for you and for myself, I've done exclusively in Lightburn. It is a very, very capable program. Right, what I've done here is I've switched off rather the image output by the other part, so that it dims the image. It makes it sort of just a faded image in the background. With some of the darker areas, if you do this, it can make it easier to see what you're doing. I don't always do, but sometimes if it's a very complicated graphic I'm working on, it pays you to dim the output to the screen so you can see all the little intricate small pieces that you may miss otherwise. Okay. I think you'll like the next bit I'm going to do after I've completed this line drawing and node editing. I did touch on it on a couple of other videos I did, how to smooth out your lines. So again, if you're not going around tight corners and tight bends, paying a great deal of attention here, even with node editing, there's a further fix coming, which I think you'll like. But let's not jump ahead too far. Let's get this done first. Okay. Very quickly do the head and the tail. So back to the line mode and just fly around this shape. I'm not normally as careless as this, but I'm trying to show really that you don't have to be terribly neat at this stage. Again, back to node edit. and very quickly persuade some of these nodes into the correct place. It's okay to pull a node away from where you're working, and have a look underneath and then put the node back. As long as you've got your control key held down and you don't stop pressing your mouse key, it'll fly around with you. You move your mouse around, it will go with you, and then you can just drag it all the way back. I like to do that sometimes to make absolutely sure that where I'm going to be placing the node is exactly where I want it. So you may see me now and again dragging a node away from the edge, and it's just me taking a peek. Okay. Almost at an end of the head. Okay, I think you should be getting by now how precise you can be using this method, and you can very often do a better trace this way than Lightburn at its very best can do using the trace tool. Not always. Sometimes the graphics are so simplified that you're doing a trace on. Lightburn does a marvelous job of it. But if you have any kind of problem whatsoever, any kind of difficulty in an image, this method, though a lot slower, obviously, is very precise and can often do a marvelous job. Okay, I flew around that. Back to node editing. I've got one of those ball ones there. So I'll fix that in place there, and then I'll drag the handle in so that it's not affecting the part below. I hate those. I'd rather work with the little square nodes. I find them very much easier to work with, even when going around curves. Some people may disagree there. The curved nodes can come in handy, I suppose, but personally I prefer to just work with the square nodes. Okay, it won't be long before I'm coming to an end to this, then I'll show you the next magic bit. Okay, right, so we all have all our parts done. What I'm going to do now is completely remove the original graphic from the background and click on each wing, the head and the tail, and use another tool here to smooth, drag it all the way over, it puts loads of nodes in and smooths out any irregularities. Just quickly click it. You could highlight the whole thing and do it all at once, but I like to do each separate part just in case there's any errors creep in. And you can probably see that smoothing bends and irregularities out of treat. Again, another powerful tool in Lightburn you don't see in many other programs. All right. Yeah. Okay, so that's all of the irregularities smoothed out. If we go to fill, yeah, group them together first. go to fill, you can see that's exactly the effect you want, because you don't want the other wing. You don't want the other wing red as well, because it would all just blend in. The original logo, I believe. So what I've done here, getting ahead of myself again, is use the offset tool to quickly put a small offset on the far gone wing. And there you go. There's the finished product. Very powerful tools, very simple to use. You've just got to know how to do it. And hopefully I'm going a long way to showing you how to do that. Well, thanks very much for watching. See you in the next video.